Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. During the college football season, this podcast highlights draftable players which match up. The goal of this podcast is to cover the draftables, the players that are 1 to 400 on the initial big boards, and we're hoping to show which players can improve draft stock before the Senior Bowl officially kicks off draft season. None of the players discussed have officially declared for the NFL draft. So today's episode is going to focus on the matchup between Michigan and USC. So this is definitely a, let's say, pro-Michigan matchup. And what I mean by that is, while you can look at the screenshot that's on the podcast and say, there's about the same number of players. Michigan has 6 players that are sitting inside the top 100. USC has 0 players sitting inside the top 100. So Bear Alexander, the top-ranked player for USC, has 6 Michigan players above him on the board that I'm looking at. Okay, but let's start talking about some of the matchups here. So I believe this is the first time we've covered USC on the podcast. Maybe it's the second. But let's talk about Jonah Moneim. He's listed as an offensive tackle on the draft board. I believe he is playing center this year. But from a draftable standpoint, what teams are going to like is that Moneim can play a number of positions throughout the line. So if he can play center, he can likely play guard. He played tackle last year, and actually I was talking with people that had Moneim as a second-round grade at tackle last year. And they were giving comparisons to Darnell Wright the previous year. So Moneim, 6'5", 300 pounds. He has played left tackle. I believe he is playing center for USC. When he plays center for USC, he's going up against Graham and Kenneth Grant. This is going to be a great matchup for a couple of reasons. There's probably 2 highly touted centers in this class, Moneim and then Parker Brailsford. Okay, so let's see how Moneim does against this Michigan interior, right? We definitely want to see, how does he do against Graham? How does he do against Grant? That's going to speak volumes as to, is Moneim top 100 or is he going to be a day 3 grade? So that's definitely a matchup that I would look at there. Okay, if we look, Bear Alexander, the defensive lineman, and Nate Clifton, the defensive lineman from USC. Okay, they will be matched up against Miles Hitton, an offensive tackle from Michigan. So that's going to be a reasonable matchup there for Alexander. But in general, I would say Alexander is going to have his hands full with a really good Michigan offense. So from that standpoint, let's see how Bear Alexander specifically does against a ranked opponent. So this will be one of the better matchups to see USC versus ranked and top tier opponents. So let's look at that. A little bit further down, we have Donovan Edwards, the running back from Michigan, and he will be matched up against Kamari Ramsey, safety from USC, Easton Mascarenas-Arnold, a linebacker from USC, and Eric Gentry, another linebacker from USC. I love running back versus linebackers and safeties. So we're going to be able to evaluate the linebackers and the safeties. Can they tackle the running back? And will they have a chance to tackle him in the open field? Can we see pursuit angles, things of that nature? So Donovan Edwards right now is looking to be an early day 3 grade. So not quite in the top 100, but he's closer to 100 than he is to 120. So let's take a look at that matchup, but I'm more focused on the linebackers and the safeties from USC than the running back from Michigan, if that makes sense. Okay, and then we have Emmanuel Pregnon, guard from USC, also going up against the internal defensive lineman Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant from Michigan. So that was a player I did not mention before. Okay, so let's talk about NFL Draft Fanatics for a minute. So this podcast is sponsored by NFLDraftFanatics.com. And NFLDraftFanatics.com is the home of the only interactive mock draft simulator. Interactive means that when fans do a mock draft, the players they pick move up on a draft board, and the players they don't pick move down. So the fans have control of the big board. The fans have control over how the players are ranked simply by picking them in a mock draft. So the players you pick in a mock draft are the players that move up the board. So that's what an interactive mock draft simulator is. My name is Jim. You can find me on Twitter or X at NFL Draft Fanatic. There is no I in Fanatic on my Twitter. Okay, so it's at NFL Draft Fanatic. Remember, every day is draft day if you have the right attitude. My name is Jim with NFLDraftFanatics.com. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, follow, subscribe, and I look forward to interacting with you on the USC and Michigan players and all things NFL draft. Thank you very much. Have a great day.